Assalamualaikum. I am Samira El Zamkala. So, our topic today is the Chinese art. So, this chapter we will tackle about the history of the Chinese art. Chinese art is the most forefront of economy development. Its booming economy had led to its modernization. China leading aid of development which is a cultural development. In the present context, ang China ay nangunguna sa kaunlaran ng ekonomiya. Umuusbong ang kanilang ekonomiya sa paggawa ng makabago. In addition, ayon sa kasaysayan, ang China ay nangunguna rin sa may maunlad na kultura. Primitive Chinese were able to produce primitive artisan artwork and because of exhibited pieces shown bronze vessels with irrigated designs depicted a lot of imagery dating from the second millennium of BCE. During the Zhou dynasty, the Chinese was under the feudal kind of social system, period when culture, particularly art, has flourished tremendously. Christianism was the dominant way of life. Confucius believed in order to society to work, one must learn how to sympathize to the others. Buddhism is an ancient Chinese belief system which is focuses on the importance of the personal ethic and morality. Confucius was a philosopher and teacher who lived from 551 to 479 BCE. The Chinese had interaction with Western missionaries who came from the India, influenced China. Indian models inspire a lot of Chinese artists from a few centuries. With the start of the 6th century, Chinese artists started making art that highlighted their very own culture. Most paintings were done in monumental styles, were in rock and mountain, served as the barrier that made that viewer distracted initially from the main subject of the work. Rounded forms rise in a way that is flow from the background into the foreground. Artists also use sharp brushstroke to provide details in their works. Porcelain is one of the commonly used in items to make decorative ornament such as vases and choi. Some artifacts from exhibition sites show irrigated work of the Chinese in the porcelain vases.
So, good day to everyone. My name is Narhuda M. Mama, and my report for today is regarding on Japanese art. So, Japanese art has undergone a series of transition and periodization from being an isolated nation to that of embracing Western influences and modernization. So, historically, Japan went through several periods of opening and closing its borders for foreign trade. The Japanese adopted new ideas from countries like China and Korea, and they would transform this concept during isolationist period. This practice allowed for the creation of the culture we're familiar with today. So, based on artifacts such as ceramic figures and ornaments, it is important to take note that those are Korean and Chinese influences evident in Japanese artwork. The Japanese artwork or ceramic figure is the haniwa. These are figures that are made up of clay. These are placed inside the burial spot for reasons that are unknown. The first trace of Japanese art date 3000 BC and culture as Jomon. Haniwa means a clay ring. So this is the example of the haniwa. So originally, the cylindrical type haniwa were set on the top of the funeral mounds. So it is believed that they had a purpose in funeral rituals. However, as the haniwa became more developed, they were set toward the outside of the grave area. It is thought that they were used as boundary markers for the borders of the gravesite. According to the article that I've read, many haniwa are particularly detailed in their execution, and those provide a valuable insight into the culture of the period. So in some article, they believe that the Haniwa house shape is probably represents as the worshipping hall by the Japanese. The native religion of Japan is Shintoism, means the nature and embracing of existence of many gods. So bago pa dumating ang China, the Japanese has already religion which is the Shintoism. Shintoism is the only religion of the Japan until the arrival of Chinese influence or the Buddhism. When Japan established trading relation with China, they did not only trade goods with them, but they were also influenced by Chinese with their religious beliefs and practices. So Buddhism became an integral part of the Japanese culture since they are influenced by the culture of Chinese. Artworks such as images and sculptures of Buddha were produced, and Buddhist temples also became staples in key places.
Okay, so good morning class, good morning po ma'am. So ngayon tatalakayin natin ngayon is tungkol sa Philippine art. Throughout the Philippine history, spanning from pre-colonial period to the contemporary periods, different art forms have emerged in the Philippine art scene. Before the colonizer came to the Philippines, ethnic minorities have used art not only for daily activities, but it's only for our religions, ritual, and practices. Most of forms used by ethnic communities include pottery, weaving, carving, and the use of metalwork and jewelry. Kabilang sa Philippine art ang pottery, weaving, carving, and metalwork and jewels. First, pottery is said to be one of the earliest art forms used by the early Filipino people. The most prominent artifacts related to poetry is the Manongal jar found in Palawan. Manongal jar. Ang Manongal jar ay matatagpuan sa Palawan. Ang garapon na ito o jar ay nagrepresenta sa iba't ibang paniniwala at kasanayan sa rehiyon ng mga unang Pilipino. Ang jar ay nilalagyan ng mga abo ng mga taong namayapa na noon. So kung makikita natin ang takip niya, may dalawang taong lalaki na nakasakay sa bangka. So yan nagrepresenta sa paniniwala nila na may dead afterlife. So sa kalaunan, gumawa silang panibagong sining katulad ng mga mahalagang mga bagay na nagagamit ng mga sinaunang tao. Katulad ng kaldero. Second, weaving. Is the people from the Cordilleras. They are known their colorful woven clothes, which is also have both religious and practice value. The Tivoli people from Mindanao are also known for their woven abaca cloth called tinapak. They use these particular clothes to make ornaments which also represent their beliefs. So ang mga taong naghahabi ay mula sa Cordilleras. Kilala ang mga taong ito dahil sa makukulay na gawa nila. Ang mga Tiboli mula sa Mindanao ay kilala rin sila sa kanilang pinatagpi-tagping telang abaca na tinatawag na tinapak. At sila din ang gumagawa ng borloloy na kumakatawan sa kanilang fertility. So ito ang borloloy, kung basta English is jewels. Last, wood carvings. Their common subject include the sarimanok, naga, and the pakurabong. Each subject is representation for a certain theme or motif, but generally the symbols depict their beliefs as a people. The sarimanok is a stylized design of a mythical bird either standing on that piece or holding a piece of fish on its beak. The history of Sarimanok was a central figure to a number of legends. One narrative tells the origin of the word Sarimanok. Sa Mindanao, ang Tausug at Maranao ay kilala sa kanilang ukir katulad ng Sarimanok. Ang Sarimanok o ibon ay may sentimental value sa kanila. We are know that Sarimanok is they have a deep meaning. Isa ito sa mga may tuturing na alamat. At ang Sarimanok din ang ginagamit ng sultan sa pangdisenyo ng kanilang sa kanilang bahay. So katulad na sa mga larawan na aking ipresenta. That's all, and I thank you po.
Hi everyone, so itutuloy ko lang po yung report ni Moqtadir S. Akan about sa Philippines in art. When the Spaniards discovered the Philippines during the 16th century, they introduced their religion to the local people and aside from acquiring the resources they have a goal to replace those existing indigenous cultural practice and belief of their only Filipinas. Art was used by the Spaniards to propagate their Christian faith, while at the same time. And Asia are the particular Chinese and Japan art has a helping in the establishment of their identities as a people, a common there between the two cultures in the implicit on the religion and how man is the integral part of the society. China may have the influence Japan during the early part but later on Japan eventually welcomed to Western idea. There is a difference in terms of allowing Western influence to be integrated their work. China remained conventional where Japan chose late Western idea to embed it in the artwork the Philippines. On the other hand, has the undergo same change when they come to the art science from the time of the early Filipinos to the contemporary time art the begin use the marine of away. Yun lang po at maraming salamat. So, dinagdagan ko lang po yung report ni Moqtadir about sa nangyari sa Japan, pati sa Chinese and sa China. That's all.